Hi everyone, this is Candace Ruttner-Duryea. I am filming this briefly during my children's quiet time. So I have one small one who's teething, and she's in the background. So you'll hear in the background occasionally as I'm talking. So hopefully that won't irritate too many people. And we'll see how quick I can make this and how long I can I can get this to go. All right, so this video is about the use of the Heartmath device, or the heart rate variance device. Now, I want to be really clear. You don't need to have just a Heartmath device. There's several out there on the market. In fact, there may be even more now. And heart rate variance is becoming more and more popular. It is not heart rate. That's a different thing, and that has to do. There's some evidence on both sides about heart rate and exercise and things like that. But this is the beat to beat ratio, and that's called your heart rate variance. And that means that when you have stressors that are going on, you may not have an initial physical response, but you have a precursor. And that precursor can show up in a lot of different ways, and the most significant ways that this can show up is in that beat-to-beat response. And this is so sensitive when you do this, that if your thoughts are negative, even if you're breathing calmly but you have negative thought process, you will tank the device. It will stay in their head because it will know that your beat-to-beat ratio, your physical sense, is not going on. And so this is great if you really struggle with knowing your emotional states, if you really struggle with having congruency in your emotional states, if you notice yourself where you're trying to remain calm on the outside but you're burning up on the inside, how you make those two what we call resonate, or get into that green space. So that's what this device does. That's why it's so unique. These devices, not even 10 years ago, were thousands and thousands of dollars, and you could only get them if you went to large universities that was doing research on biofeedback in some way or shape or form. And then you were only limited to like a 12-week session once a week, maybe sometimes 2 times a week. So the fact that you can have this in your home, with you in your car, like it's just an incredible thing. And so that's why I highly recommend it, because a lot of times women that struggle with trauma or struggle with emotional resilience, even using this device within 2 to 3 weeks of using it, they notice a marked difference. They're like, whoa, I'm calmer than I've ever been. Like, that's incredible. And it really is as simple as practicing, paying attention, and working on creating this what they call resiliency space in the green, and you're syncing up your neurological system, your physiological system, and your nervous system, or the endocrine system, all in one through this vagus nerve, and that gets registered, a big part of it, through your heart to heart, your heart rate variance, your beat to beat ratio. And there's a certain ratio that goes in that has been shown in the literature to be the most effective way in which you produce calming, resilient, emotional strain. So your stress level is lower, even though your external stress is high, your internal stress can be a lot lower. And that is something that, with what we've been doing in the Healing the Father Wound series, is most impactful when you have mother wounds. And father wounds can come vicariously through that, because a father is a stability force in a family. A mother is a heart of a family, but a father is the protective stability force. And so if he's attacking the family, then he'll be attacking the mother, the heart of the family. And so isn't that interesting that it measures your heart? We could go on for that for a long time, but I'm not going to. So, so this is really good at giving you a consistent, what does it look like to be in a healthy space for you and that resiliency. But I do have some tips, especially for women who have had traumas or have had significant wounds. There are some ways that you're going to use this machine that's a little bit different than just what they advertise. And they give a pretty big cursory thing, I think, on the website of how to use it, and then they give you a bit of little literature that you can read through. But let me give you what I typically assign and how I do it and why. So the first thing I say is you're going to use it 3 times a day, so for 10 minutes each. So take it with you to work, or have it in your car, although I don't recommend doing it while driving. So if you happen to take a break in your car, or if you're going to take 10 minutes before you go into your next meeting or something like that, you can have it with you in your purse. In the morning when you wake up, and in the evening, you can do it before you go to bed or during evening time. You can also do it and pull it out before you have important events or situations that you're about to go into. It will help you to focus on getting calm. Are you going to get stuck over there? Don't get stuck. She's learning to crawl. So she's got the all fours and push back right now. She's not forward yet. Keep going. The other thing is you're going to want to you want to start at level 1, and you can, if you go into the settings device of it, you can set out your breath for 5 seconds or 10 seconds. You may even be able to do 15, I think. And so you can adjust it accordingly to you, however, whatever feels best for you. But as you get better and you go up the levels, you'll want to look at how you can extend out your breath, because what you'll want to eventually do as a marker, and you've practiced this, it's just like as you work out and you get stronger in anything, when you take one single breath in, you'll be able to reset yourself, and it'll be a click over to your physiology. Oh, this is what we're doing now. We're doing this calm, resilient thing now. And so the longer that breath is, the more efficiency you have with maintaining and resetting. So your breath rate can start out at 5 seconds, which is what the pacer will flash in and out for. But you don't want to move up to level 2 until you have gotten 90% green for 3 days in a row. So the coherence level, you don't really need to have that. We're not really at this point worried about if it's like 1.5 or 2.5 or 8.8. We're not really worried about that at this point. What we're worried about, what we're concerned about, is how much of the time you stay in the green. And so if you're just barely hovering along at the green, you've done it. Like you've gotten that first level, and that's the most you want to do. So you want to get there and have 90% green 3 days in a row. Here's the other thing that kind of goes along with, if you're having difficulty with staying in the green, if you're having difficulty that you get into the green, but you get emotional or you get flashbacks. I'm going to explain those things for quick wink here. So if you're having a hard time getting into the green, I highly encourage you to then create supports. And those would be your favorite calming or relaxing music. Oh, almost. So you can put on classical music or your favorite hymns or whatnot. Hi, Shashas. Oh, you're so big. Or you can, I'm going to link to a Dr. Jeffrey, what's his last name? I can't remember his last name. The name of the suite is called Brainwave Suite. And it's all classical music done by theta and alpha waves. Theta, alpha, data, and beta waves. He has them all put out together. He also has a kind of a new age one. I like the classical music one because of the classical music he picks and the composers he picks. And a lot of people don't realize this or know this, but classical music in its written form was actually majority of it was for the mass. And so that's a beautiful signal. It's Christian based music, so it's based for the Christian mass. Hold on 1 second. You got stuck. Oh, there you are. Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm gonna finish now. Almost. Okay, now. Oh, this is gonna be a funny video. Okay, so the next things, aside from music, and I'll link the Brainwave Suite below, along with some of my favorites, I'll link those below too, is smells. So Sonia had talked about this in one of her videos, and I think Kelly Frick does Sense as well. She has a website of that. And so smells are really great. I use, I use a variety of different things, but one of my favorites that I put in my office oftentimes is by Young Living. I'm not an advocate for them or anything like this. That's just what I use. And there are two that I love, which are Hope, which is made with myrrh, and Forgiveness, and Joy. I use those in my office often, and they're great for kind of bringing you back to grounding if you're having a hard time getting in the green. And then a final thing that if you're still having a hard time with doing all of that is bring someone in that you feel safe and trusted with and hold their hand while you're doing it. And this has a whole bunch of reasons why it works, an indication, and I can go through that. Mostly I discovered it when I was working with individuals with eating disorders. I was trying to do some trauma work with that individual or those individuals, but I really struggled with getting them present and grounded. And I realized the closer I was to the individual, the more grounded they were. And then I started kind of digging into that. And what I started to realize is that sometimes we've been able to create an external presence that we seem secure, we seem grounded. In fact, especially if we have a really intense experience of being traumatized or insecure, sometimes that front is very hard to get through and to pierce through, and it can be on all the time. And so we can seem like we've got it all together and we're confident, but the levels of trust can be extremely low or non-existent. And so what I discovered is that for these women, most of them who are beautiful, capable eating disorder women who struggle and have high drives, they're normally the last person that someone would guess would have an eating disorder because they're so good at presenting so well. But when they would come in to deal with something that was traumatic or difficult, their levels of trust and security were so low that they actually needed my physical presence to be, even though they knew me, even though they could talk to me, even though I was recommended or I've been doing this for years, they actually needed me to physically either be present or be close to them for the trust level for them to actually feel that they could trust. And so that might be true for you as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, those are sometimes what we call nonverbal or precognitive experiences that we just can't get to. And so might as well bring in the best support that you can. Bring someone in to hold your hand and breathe and start getting the support that you need to get yourself resilient so that you can do it on your own. There's no shame in it, but that would be an explanation a brief cursory explanation as to why you couldn't get into the green and why you probably would need to bring someone in to help hold your hand. And sometimes we're not even aware. We're so used to building up on this other part of us that we're not even aware that those kind of nonverbal implicit systems are running, and they're creating experiences for us that we're not able to trust, and so that we actually need to have a physical presence in order to allow ourselves to relax and trust and do the work and build and create the resilience. Then the last thing is about the experiences coming forth. I'm going to give you a real brief. This is something I give in a longer version. I don't know if I've done it in my other videos or not, but a trauma wall. A trauma wall is basically all the things that we've put up and we've done to keep us from being able to experience life, because with that comes in our past and our past experiences. And so we have created lots of defenses to come up against, I hope you guys can hear this, to come up against not dealing with those, because we either don't know how to, we're not ready to, or our system has locked them so down that we lock them down so much we can't get to them. And so when you do something like this breathing device and you relax your system, your brain is geared towards healing. God has designed you to heal. And if this isn't evidence of it, I don't know what is. All the years that I've done it, it's amazing. It doesn't matter how dire a situation is and how much the individual doesn't believe they'll be able to do it. When we start working on the trauma work, it's amazing. Their body, their physiology, their brain, everything is geared in that space towards healing. Their brain and their body wants them to heal. And so this is no different. When you start to breathe and relax, your brain will, your soul, your part of you will reveal things that still need to be healed. And so you can sometimes be breathing and suddenly, boom, something will flash, something will come up, and you may get very emotional. Do not stop if that happens. Keep breathing. Write it down if that's what you need to do. And just allow yourself to breathe and feel through it. It is a memory that's coming up, that's presented to you, because when you've relaxed down, you're removing like a top part of that trauma wall, and those memories are kind of scaling it. And like, oh, we can get over and get healed. She's relaxed, or he's relaxed. Yes. Okay, and so that's what they're doing, and that's what you're experiencing it. That's why when you get into that space and you're starting to relax, something possibly could come up like that. And if you write it out with the breathing, the memory will resolve with that as well. And you may need to take it in and do some more processing or something, or take it to prayer, adoration, or to your therapist. But just so you know, that can be a possibility. It's not always, but it can be, and it can be, and it is actually extremely healing. It's very, very healing. And so I know sometimes that can seem like a scary thing, but if you're already in a calm state and you're relaxing, your body is so good, or your brain is so good at trying to get you to heal, that it recognizes that you're calm and relaxed, and so that you have resilience to actually take this on. And so it doesn't normally happen like that to begin with. It typically is something, if it's going to come up, it'll come up as your resilience has built, and so you'll be able to breathe and work through the device and the memory. So I hope that helps with my little in the background. I hope I didn't cause too much disturbance. But if you have any questions or thoughts, I think I'm just going to keep doing these weekly, even after the series. So if you wouldn't mind tagging them in the bottom, you can leave me questions, or you can direct email me. I think my website's, I'll put my website below, or you can do it on my Facebook page, or you can leave a comment below in the comments below. And hopefully I can keep these going each week with kind of some of your questions about trauma or therapy, or to bridge them, you know, between Catholic theories and the psychology world and things like that. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. God bless you and keep you, and may the Lord make his face shine upon you. Bye.